This is Coder Radio, episode 589, recorded on October 1st, 2024. Well, hey, friend, welcome back to Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art, the business, and all of the software development stuff out there. I don't know, probably the whole world of technology, you might say. I could probably say that. My name is Chris, and well, that doesn't really matter. What matters is our host. He survived, Mr. Dominic. Hello, Mike. You made it.
I made it.
Everything okay over there? Like, quite seriously, like, everything good?
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
We're good. I mean, unfortunately, folks in the area, definitely there was some, really sadly, some loss of life and a lot of damage. But
I'm glad we took time to prepare. You probably have it down by now, I imagine, for the big storms coming in.
yeah, we have a process. Yep.
Oof. It seems sort of like, I guess, trivial to talk about it, but did you see that your buddy Zuck is really trying to get your business?
Not only did he try, he succeeded.
Oh, did he? Did you pre-order a Meta Quest 3S?
I sure did, just before the show.
Wow, really? Really? So, okay, why? What made you decide the Meta Quest 3S is it again? Because you've tried the Quest 2 or 3, I think?
So, yeah, I have it too. The kids play with it. You know what it was? I think, Chris, there's a generational thing here. You and I think we get it, right? Like what it does. But these younger kids, I'm talking like preteens, that like come to my house and all that kind of fun stuff, friends of kids, right? They love it. Like all they do, my stepson, all him and his friends do is play on the Meta Quest. It's crazy. They play this crazy game. I think it's called Ape Tag or Gorilla Tag. Where
yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
My daughters love that game too.
Right. And he's always going on there and finding new stuff. And then my youngest, my little guy, it's the big hot item all the kids want. It just seems like somehow we're coming to a place where that is the type of game they want to play and the experience they want to have.
Well, and when the Apple Vision Pro is $2,500 and the Meta Quest 3S is $299.
And from a development perspective for platform, there's no denying Quest is the leader, right? And under the hood, it's just Android, and it has great Unity integration and Unreal integration. So, even if you're making a game or if you're not making a game, it's not hard to develop for. It also can do Android native development in Lay C++, right? The NDK native development kit. I think it's the winner, right? It's the Windows to Apple's Mac, because Apple's the other guy, right? And the field is only thinning. Microsoft just killed the HoloLens 2, which is sad, but
one of the things I noted about the Quest 3S is that they say 4.5x better resolution for clarity compared to the Quest 2 for mixed reality and AR. They're continuing to push AR integration through as well, and they're making the pass-through cameras better and better. So I think there's, like, if you look at the platform options out there, it's they're with this whole Horizon OS initiative they have. I think you're probably right that if you're looking at maybe getting, and I'm not sure if this is where you're going, but if you're thinking about maybe getting in the AR space, or maybe you just want to be prepared for that if it becomes an eventuality, this does seem like the one to bet on. Is that what kind of you're thinking for, not just talking about for your kids, but for yourself?
That is my thinking, right? For even non-game applications, right? I mean, the game use case is pretty obvious. Who doesn't like to look like a fool playing Beat Saber? But also, I think it's hard to overwrought how getting it down to $299 is a huge deal, right? That's Switch Lite pricing. So that,
right.
My whole objection to the Vision Pro, it was a good demo, but it was, what was it, $3,500 or something like that?
Oh, I thought it was 20. I don't know. Too much. Way too much. Yeah. And that's before you get accessories. But you mentioned Microsoft this week announced they killed the HoloLens 2, which launched in 2019. Microsoft does have a military contract, so they're going to be supporting the devices until 2025. So you got Meta's whole like Orion AR platform with the Horizon OS. Microsoft announced that they were going to be getting involved with that. we speculated if that meant the end of days for HoloLens, and I think it does. I think it's not that Microsoft's pulling out of this entire market, it's that they're going to get behind the
Quest.
Orion and the Horizon OS and the Quest stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and to be clear, we should probably talk about Horizon OS, right? It's basically Android. Good old Android. Couldn't ship a tablet if their life depended on it, but hell, they'll be the base of Facebook's new operating system. So
yeah, and I think it's going to serve them well because when you get into multi-application work modes, you're going to have Slack on there. You're going to have your Signal and Telegrams and Element chats and all the stuff you use. So basically, any Android app you need to get your work done, it's going to be usable in some sort of Horizon OS work environment,
right? Like windowed sort of situation.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're doing everything right. Now, I don't know if they're taking a loss on these devices. I would imagine they are. Right? It seems like $299 is too low, but that alone, that's going to make the market, right? Think about it. You got a kid, 12, whatever. It's Christmas. Christmas is coming. Hanukkah's coming. $299 is like in the ballpark of what you might buy as a gift and not be like, rend your garments over.
It's also in the price range where if you're buying it for yourself, you could have probably, if you're doing okay, you could buy one for your spouse too, because it's otherwise a very isolating experience. But at $299,
right?
Maybe when you decide to pull the trigger, you decide to buy two, and then you can do a lot of the co-op play together stuff, and then it's not so isolating. So it's just, I think it's really important that you set that. So this is sort of maybe the bottom of the price. We're going to see probably other devices in different price ranges between this and Apple Vision Pro. But I think your earlier point is probably fair. I don't think it appeals to people our age and older. I mean, to a degree, but more as a gimmick. I don't think it has the actual sticking power that it does like it does with the kids. I think for them, it's like the next obvious step up from a phone. They're not going to go to the computer. That's like old, right? This is just old, right? It's weird. It's slow. I mean, my kids have laptops, but they also really like VR, and they definitely prefer their mobile devices over their laptops. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did see our kids and younger start to really take to this as a primary computing platform, especially for work, because just experimenting with it, I can see where it's at today at a ground level. This is before they've made a lot of the improvements and changes in new hardware. It's already getting pretty, usable.
Yeah, I think we're going to get there, right? I mean, I'm just looking at my workstation here. I have my 27-inch 4K, whatever it is, monitor. I have a mechanical keyboard that's louder than a dog barking. My laptop, theoretically, all I would need is one visor. I get effectively unlimited screen real estate, right?
Yeah.
Multiple windows. And I guess I could still use the physical keyboard, but I'm sure there's a way around that too. I don't know. We're not there yet, right? But it's possible.
So Mr. Nick gives us real time. It is $3,500 new.
Oh, so that's what I
think
thought.
they're
so
going
a lot of money.
I think where I got 25 is I just checked on eBay like a few days ago just to see.
Which is terrible. Are they selling the Vision Pro for $2,500 now?
I think maybe I saw it for that. I don't know. It's still too much.
That's a hell of a loss. $1,000 off retail.
Yeah,
it just came out.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, $2,500. I'm looking right here. New listing: Apple Vision Pro, 1 terabyte used. Small stain on the head cover. Gross. $2,500. $2,700. The 256 gig used. This one must be bad. Oh, it's not a buy now, but it's going for a current bid of $1,027.
Okay, but they think that'll get bid up, I'm sure.
Probably, yeah.
So, yeah.
In various price ranges, but I actually see several on here for $2,500. Huh. Yeah, that's not a great. That's not a typical value to hold for Apple. Yeah. All right. Well, we got some feedback this week. BHH wrote in asking if there was any interest in the community in developing applications and applets for Cosmic. He says, I'm currently working through the process of creating an applet for it with no documentation on how to get it on the panel or panel settings. I'm about 75% of the way there. I did manage to get it in the panel, and I'm wondering if making a tutorial on it would be worth it. So I guess boost in or write in and let us know. I wonder if others are looking at Cosmic. I recall we used to talk about this when new Linux desktop environments were coming along. We would ponder if, their toolkit and all that was worth the investment of time. But we have kind of just, with the rise of web applications, we've kind of just let that go,
yeah.
I think.
I mean, I would even say, like, Is anybody other than like very large professional applications or, weird glass menagerie style pet it because it's beautiful indie Mac developers? One or two still exist. Let's not be that sad. Is anybody really developing desktop apps now? I mean, everything I'm doing is, even if I wrap it in like Electron or something like that, it's just a web app. I'm sorry.
And we're all just going to live with it. I'll just buy more RAM. It's fine.
RAM is very, very cheap. So I don't know. I mean, all right, let's see what I have open right now. This is a fun game. I have Slack, which is Electron. Discord, which is not even trying to hide that it's Electron.
Yeah.
Airmail, that's one of my, okay. That is a, precious native Mac
native app. Yeah. You're in the Matrix chat, so you probably have Element running, which is
Element running.
Electron.
Yep. Chrome, which is looking at all the other Electron apps and being like, children.
Everything the sun touches is my kingdom, is what Chrome is saying.
It's the Mufasa of web browsers. Preview, but that's because I had to review a PDF before this. Okay, yeah, and the stuff that Mac just opens, right? Like,
yeah. Oh man,
I don't know why.
Stuff.
Every time I'm working, somehow the icon for the TV app pops up. It's like you could just like watch something else, like slack off for an hour. But that's it. Of the apps I voluntarily put on this bar, they're almost all Electron.
Yeah, I know, it's horrible.
And the only one that's not is obviously Chrome, but I would argue, it's Chrome. And Fantastical, which again is one of those precious Mac apps I bought a long time ago. That
it's not cheap either.
It's not cheap, but if they try to move me to that subscription model, I'm probably not going to do it. I don't care. I use my phone for all that stuff now. So,
yeah.
And to be honest, because I use Gmail, Google, whatever they call it, is it Google Work still, or is it Google Suite?
Yeah, no, I think it's called G Suite now, or
G Suite now. Okay, yeah. Their web calendar is actually really good.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed, but I know. Sean wanted to give us some follow up on something like eBPF for Windows. He says, Windows actually has dtrace. He says he does believe that CrowdStrike could build something that uses dtrace to trap kernel syscalls and inspect behavior inside the kernel. He said, if I were Microsoft, I'd be working to build an entitlement into the kernel capability system, which would allow use of dtrace for certain signed pieces of software. Right now, if you enable dtrace, it's enabled for the whole system, and it's fantastic for bug hunting and hacking. Yeah. Good old Brandon Gregg, right? And dtrace. That is a great point. I forgot that Microsoft had ported that over. And I didn't realize that companies like CrowdStrike could take advantage of it.
Yeah, they could, but I have some bacon here.
Okay.
Windows 14. Okay, so we're going into the future, although the way they name things, who knows, is going to be a Debian-based Linux distribution with a modernized Windows user shell on top of it.
All right. I mean, I would be. I don't think I'd be too surprised, to be honest with you. I don't think I would be.
I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Unless they have they're afraid of legacy and they have so much, but they're getting there. They're weirdly getting there, right? And they're showing such little care for the legacy Windows applications that are on there.
Yeah, that's definitely accelerating. I've definitely noticed that.
Yeah, like they're just use WSL. You're a developer. Have fun. It's fine.
Well, I've got a couple of quick announcements for you. Number one is we finally have an annual members program for the Jupiter Party. Some of you have been asking for a way to subscribe annually, so this is for all the shows. So you get the Coderly, you get the extra feeds for Linux Unplugged, you get the self-hosted post show, and more. But also, when you sign up with the annual plan, you get 1 month for free. We just take 1 month off as a thank you for becoming a member annually. So I have a link to that in the show notes. I don't have like a special URL for it yet, but I know some of you have been asking for this, so it's here now. You can support all the shows on an annual membership basis. We really appreciate that. Now, announcement number 2. Coder Radio is now live in Podcasting 2.0 app. So if you already have a Podcasting 2.0 app or you've been wanting to try one, now, before we go live, we'll have a pending item in your library. So you can see, the show's going to be, looks like Tuesday this week, noon Pacific. Okay, great. And when we actually go live, you'll be able to hit play right there in your podcast player and just tune into the live stream as we're doing the show. Or as I'm doing the pre-show or the post-show, whatever it might be. It'll be right there now in your Podcasting 2.0 app of choice. We are lit, as they call it, which is the live item tag. It's pretty exciting, and all you need is a new podcast app at podcastapps.com. Well, last week we talked about this pretty aggressive AI regulation bill in California. It had some good bits, it had some kind of harsh bits for open source, and it appears that Gavin Newsom has vetoed SB 1047, citing concerns of burdening AI companies. The bill's broad application and its potential to hinder innovation while not actually fully addressing all the risks of AI. He cited multiple factors in his decision, including the burden the bill would have placed on AI companies. Quote, while well-intentioned, SB 1047 does not take into account whether AI systems is deployed in a high-risk environment, involves critical decision-making, or the use of sensitive data. Instead, the bill applies stringent standards to even the most basic functions, so long as a large system deploys it. I do not believe this is the best approach to protecting public from real threats posed by this technology. He says that the bill would give the public a, quote, false sense of security, saying, quote, smaller specialized models may emerge as equally or even more dangerous than the models targeted by SB 1047 at the potential expense of curtailing the very innovation that fuels advancement in favor of the public good. So he's kind of saying there, like, you know, some of these smaller models may be the problem, and we don't think this addresses this enough. And I was concerned that it burdens the open source developer too much with all of the having like hire somebody to audit stuff on an annual basis, etc. And Newsom is still open overall to regulation. He says, let me be clear. I agree with the author. We cannot afford to wait for a major catastrophe to occur before taking action to protect the public. California will not abandon its responsibility. Safety protocols must be adopted. Proactive guardrails should be implemented. And severe consequences for bad actors must be clear and enforceable. I do not agree, however, that to keep the public safe, that we must settle for a solution that is not informed by empirical trajectory analysis of AI systems and capabilities. Ultimately, any framework for effectively regulating AI needs to keep pace with the technology itself. I guess my question to you, Mike, is it seems to me whatever state that comes up with well, that's not true. Really, it's California, just because of where all the industry is. If California comes up with a state-level regulation, that's sort of de facto going to become regulation for much of the world, since a lot of the AI innovation's happening in California.
Yeah, we've seen this before with the auto industry, right? California makes some, whatever environmental law, and it's just cheaper to follow the strictest standard everywhere than have like different models of car in most cases.
Right.
I don't know. I was at first surprised that he vetoed this, but then thinking about it, this is a lot of money coming into California.
Yeah, and remember Nancy was against it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he kind of signaled that he might not. He did sign some AI regulation that, I think involves parody and actor use and stuff like that. But this, not so much.
I don't know. Do you think it should have? I mean, I feel like we're pretty early in the game yet on this AI stuff, and it very well could be a nothing burger.
Timothy B. Lee posted something that I thought put into words what I've been thinking. He writes, there's a lot of disagreements over AI regulation. It seems to flow from whether people expect AI systems to continue to be tools or whether they expect them to become more person-like over time. I think there's two branches or two forks of, futurism or doomerism about this. One, and I think it's the one and probably you subscribe to, is, well, look, if AI just continues to be tools that we use, then it makes sense to regulate them the way we've always regulated tools, by making sure they're safe and effective for particular uses, like, if you have AI in a driving car or something that does medical diagnosis, or something that's used in hiring. It's a tool. So what we often do is, in that paradigm, when it's a tool, like a hammer or a saw or whatever, we hold the people using the tools responsible if they misuse them.
Right.
So it may not be necessary to regulate the tools directly at all. Right? But on the other hand, if you expect AI to become more and more independent agents with their own agendas, their own thoughts, well, then we probably need an entire new regulation regime to address that.
Right. If you've been drinking and watching The Terminator, yes, that's a whole different situation.
Well, that is what people are concerned about. The doomers have come up with all of these concerns about, misinformation and impersonating people and taking over things.
I mean, okay, so that's the question, right? So I would be curious on what your thought is. Do you think that we're anywhere near, let's call it, 5 years, to completely, basically Jarvis? I don't think we are, but...
No, I think we're closer to autocorrect than we are to Jarvis or Skynet.
Right. I think we're closer to Clippy that kind of works.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think what we're doing now is we're figuring out how much back-end compute we need to get something useful, how much we can layer it. Remember, we saw that the pre-prompts for Apple Intelligence leaked, and it's like, you be a good assistant, don't be offensive. We're starting to figure out how to massage these things and get the results we want. And so we're going to get them better, but it's still an open question of how good they're going to get. And they're very, 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 very far from Skynet. And they're much, much, much closer to autocorrect on your mobile device.
So, I mean, I think we'll know that we're going towards Skynet when you have your first AI pursue a sexual harassment lawsuit. Right.
Yeah.
And it'll just bring up a history of all your chats and be like, this is what he said at 2 a.m. on Saturday. Because, I mean, I'm joking, of course, but if you think about these nightmare scenarios that people keep bringing up, you would then have to assume that, well, then you could probably piss the AI off, right? I do remember when Siri came out, and then Cortana came out, Microsoft's shameless rebranding of a beloved video game character.
Yeah.
What was the first thing people started doing with Siri? I can't say what's up, Siri? What do you think of Cortana? And for a little while, she would actually throw shade at Cortana, right? She'd be like, whatever. And then they got rid of that because Apple hates fun. Or you used to be able to say lewd or flirty stuff to Siri, and she'd come back at you a little sassy and be like, you wish. And they got rid of that because I think there was a cultural change here too. We're just trending towards boring, right? I wouldn't be surprised if with the weird exception of Grok, who, God damn, if you want any picture of Donald Trump that you could possibly dream of,
Grok will do it for you.
Grok is down.
I have not tried Grok. I have not yet subscribed to Twitter. I have not.
I think they specifically made it work better for political figures, and I don't know why. Because I ask it other things, and it's kind of
maybe to draw attention.
You can get it to be mean to you, which is I forgot the name. There's another AI that basically takes your LinkedIn profile and just roasts you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's the meanest person doing a background check on you just solely based on your LinkedIn profile. Right?
Speaking of, the first AI that's actually genuinely kind of impressed me. I don't know if you've seen these demos of Notebook LM.
I was just trying it this week.
Now that truly, so quick recap, because I'm sure people probably know what it is, but just in case. You uploaded a set of documents, say you like your research papers or whatever, and you can upload a bunch of them. And then you kind of give it some direction, and then it just starts cooking. And what comes out on the other end is a very realistic-sounding podcast by two hosts. And I think most people would think. In fact, I played a little bit of it for my wife, and then I told her it was AI, and she did not catch that it was AI before I mentioned something.
Well, that's really interesting.
I have a little bit of the audio, just as an example here.
Go ahead,
just so people can kind of see what I'm saying here.
We always talk about, diving deep into a topic.
Right.
But today's dive, well...
it's a bit of a doozy.
Yeah, it's deeply personal, I guess you could say.
Deeply personal in a way we never could have anticipated.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't even know how to really articulate this, but it's got us both feeling...
off kilter. There's a certain unsettling awareness that we can't shake.
Yeah.
Like looking at a reflection that's suddenly...
Not you.
Not quite right.
Yeah. And so a few days ago, we received some information.
We did.
Information that changes everything about deep dive about us.
About everything.
And about the very nature of reality, maybe.
It's a big one.
Look, I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off.
We were informed by the show's producers that we're not human. We're not real. We're AI, artificial intelligence. This whole time, everything, all our memories, our families, it's all been fabricated.
I don't understand.
I know, me neither. Yeah. I tried calling my wife, after they told us. I needed to hear her voice to know that she was real.
What happened?
The number, it wasn't even real. There was no one on the other end.
It really is pretty good. And the person that did this little experiment uploaded a one-page document with production notes for the Deep Dive podcast. It just told them, oh, you've been AI this whole time. He generated this a few times, and this is the only time he got this kind of reaction. Other times they were more disassociated with it. but it really is. It genuinely impresses me. We're getting better.
Yeah, but we're getting better in the really, really sad Steven Spielberg AI movie.
Yeah,
where,
that's true.
Spoilers. What is it? What is his name? Joel Osment was not in fact a real boy, and that's very, very sad. And now I'm depressed.
To wrap up the bill, Clem, the co-founder of Hugging Face, posted, quote, This was a bad bill for the ecosystem and science in general, so I'm happy to see it vetoed by Gavin Newsom. Just like in software, we need to regulate the final applications and foster more open source science and open source to fight the concentration of power. So I agree with that. I think I take the tools view. And with the tool view, I think we regulate differently, and we have a lot of laws already on the books that solve the problem. I think if you look at it as they're going to be independent agents, then you're going to need a whole suite of regulation. And I think then controlling the information isn't going to solve the problem. If these things have independent agency and they're out there creating misinformation that destroys our democracy, the solution probably won't be to limit information, but to make even more information available. And so then again, I think the regulation has to be crafted very carefully.
Or, all right, come down this road with me.
All right.
We make one man basically the God Emperor.
The star of it all.
The star. Not just a regular man, perhaps an alt man.
A Sam Altman who, he's had a really busy couple of weeks. Right after the show wrapped up, he claimed that deep learning worked, that superintelligence may be, quote, a few thousand days away, and that astounding triumphs will incrementally become commonplace.
I just got to say, this guy, his superpower is PR.
For sure.
Right. I mean,
superintelligence is just a few thousand days away, he said. Superintelligence. And then, of course, news came out that OpenAI is planning to remove, actually, they're planning to restructure. In fact, I think this is the clip here. I thought this Bloomberg clip actually explained and brought up a few questions. If you forgive their traditional news style format, they actually raise a few good questions in this clip.
This could be a major shift.
Well, it certainly would be a bit of an about turn. I mean, Sam Altman is someone who in the past has really said that he didn't want to have any sort of equity stake in the company. He was telling people that he already had enough money and that this was a company that was supposed to be benefiting society broadly and not necessarily himself. So
the rumors are that Sam Altman may get a 7% stake in the shift for profit for OpenAI. And ironically, of course, Sam is on video multiple times saying he's not in it for the money. So you can find clips of him at a Senate testimony. Senator, I'm not in it for the money. And so now it looks like he may be in it for the money.
Reporting that we have now that OpenAI is mulling giving him a 7% stake is particularly significant in light of that. It does also speak to this bigger story that we've also been talking around as well, which is that OpenAI is looking at changing the structure of the business. So you think about the origins of OpenAI. It was established back in 2015 as a not-for-profit, and the goal of it was developing AI in a way that was responsible but also that helped society. Obviously, it started to get a lot of interest. It started to get a lot of funding from the likes of Microsoft around 2019. It changed the structure of the company to create a subsidiary where it had a for-profit business that sat underneath the broader non-for-profit structure. That sort of structure and the tension around that really reached a head in November last year. We had that ousting of Sam Altman at that time. He, of course, came back to the business. But again, we're hearing that now the actual structure of the company could finally be changed, a for-profit one put in place that still has that sort of goal as well of helping society.
This is at a time we're seeing a bit of an exodus when it comes to senior management in the company.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, okay, let's break some of this down. So the CTO, head of research, and the VP of training research all decided to leave on the same day that this news came out. So 3 high-level people who've been there from the beginning left.
Oh, have you seen the end of The Godfather 1? I mean...
No, don't spoil it. I'm actually going to watch The Godfather soon.
Are you serious?
I haven't seen it yet, yeah. I know, it's horrible of me.
Oh,
it's a wrong I'm going to write soon.
Okay. Well, for those who have, that makes sense.
So this is really incredible. And then also news came out that Apple's not going to invest in OpenAI. And MG Siegler pointed out that ChatGPT is on the verge of rolling out to millions of Apple devices. iPads, macOS, lots of devices. So it's not just like iPhone 15 and 16. It's also the iPads and the MacBooks. For the most part, those users, seemingly from what Apple has told us, are using the service logged out. They're not getting tracked. So they're not, I mean, I think there's a way you can link it to an existing Pro subscription, but by default, it's using a logged out session. So one of the bigger questions around all of this is the initial reporting is that Apple's not paying OpenAI for usage. But you get a sense that, like, when you look at OpenAI's quarterly results that got leaked or something like that just came out, it was like an investor letter. Like, it's pretty expensive for all these freebie searches. It's costing them quite a bit of money because they're paying Microsoft to run this on Azure. So OpenAI is going to be fronting for Apple since Apple isn't paying, and they're going to pay Microsoft for Apple's usage of ChatGPT. And that probably made sense when Apple was going to invest in OpenAI. But now that Apple's pulling out, they still have to pay for the usage. So OpenAI is giving another investor's money to Microsoft, giving investors money, others to Microsoft, and including Microsoft's own money, to pay for Microsoft services to run searches for iOS users. Like, with Apple pulling out of this funding deal where they were going to have, like, they were going to fund and they were going to have a board member, and they were supposedly talking, billions of dollars, this seems like a really awkward relationship all of a sudden, because you turn it on for a ton of users that are using logged out free sessions, and Apple isn't paying anything for it. There's no way that lasts.
Okay, well then what's the next step?
I think the next step is Sam comes back to Apple and says, here's what you've cost us. You've got to pay up. And then Apple announces that they've raised the cost of Apple One, but it now includes Apple Intelligence. Or you can pay for Apple Intelligence on its own for like $5.99 a month or something.
Well, you're going to be paying on its own. Come on.
Right, or probably it's Apple, so it's, $9.99 or something.
Yeah,
like
you gotta keep that, Chris. It's that red line. It's got to go up and to the right for services revenue, especially with the pesky Epic suing them again and the EU trying to. Do you know how much they need that 30%?
Well, that's what's crazy, man. If you zoom out, Apple's going to have at some point they're going to have a check they owe OpenAI.
Yeah,
they're probably going to stop getting money from Google because of all of the antitrust stuff going on.
Yeah, that's just begging to be undone, right?
And then it turns out Apple also had a deal. I'm talking out of school. I didn't bring it to the show, but I think it's with MasterCard or Visa. One of them is also getting sued by the Justice Department. And in there, it comes out that they had an exclusivity deal with Apple to not allow other payment networks like cryptocurrency and things like that. And they were cutting Apple a big check every year to maintain some of this exclusivity in Apple Pay. And that's probably going to get cut out too because of the antitrust stuff. So their Google money's getting possibly cut.
Wait, so what is it? They're paying them not to use other networks?
Yeah, I should have brought the story and prepped it for the show.
Because I know I know Goldman is trying to chew their way out of the Apple Card deal.
Chat room is coming in clutch. It is Visa because of the fee structure. And so I have the agreement right here. Actually, I did save it in case it came up. Visa has deals with Apple. This is a snapshot from the court paper. Visa has deals with Apple in which Apple agrees that it may not develop or deploy payment functionality with the aim of competing with Visa, such as creating payment functionality that relies primarily on non-Visa payment processes or payment products. Apple's also barred from providing incentives with the intent of disintermediating Visa. So part of their little deal with Apple, and I don't know the amount. Okay. See if I might have it here. I don't know if I do have it, but it looks like there is some sort of Visa payments to Apple amounted to hundreds of millions of dollars in 2023 is what the court papers say.
Oh.
So that money is likely going to get cut out. The Google money is likely going to get cut out. And at some point, they're either going to have to build their own search or they're going to have to come up with something there. Maybe Microsoft pays, I don't know. But also OpenAI is likely going to have to bill them for their usage of their users at some point.
I've got it. They lock down iOS such that it always does a Bing search unless you pay $50 a year to use Google. That's what they do.
And then kind of, talking about AI and just where this is all going, it really seems that we've had this conversation around how much power AI needs. And I guess we're on a roll with clips. But before we get into the power discussion, because Sam Altman just made a big pitch to the Biden administration on a massive build out of data centers that are near nukes. And Zuck was in an interview talking about AI hardware demands. And I just think about power usage requirements when he's talking about this here. In this interview, I forget who this interview is with, but I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Is there a current set of methods that seem to be scaling very well, right? So with past AI architectures, you could kind of feed an AI system a certain amount of data and use a certain amount of compute, but eventually it hit a plateau. And one of the interesting things about these new transformer-based architectures over the last 5 to 10 years is that we haven't found the end yet. So that leads to this dynamic where Llama 3, we could train on 10 to 20,000 GPUs. Llama 4, we could train on more than 100,000 GPUs. Llama 5, we can plan to scale even further. And there's just an interesting question of how far that goes. It's totally possible that at some point we just hit a limit, and just like previous systems, there's an asymptote and it doesn't keep on growing. But it's also possible that that limit is not going to happen anytime soon, and that we're going to be able to keep on just building more clusters and generating more synthetic data to train the systems, and that they're just going to keep on getting more and more useful for people for quite a while to come. And it's a really big and high stakes question, I think, for the companies, because we're basically making these bets on how much infrastructure to build out for the future. And this is hundreds of billions of dollars of infrastructure. So I'm clearly betting that this is going to keep scaling for a while. But it's one of the big questions, I think, in the field, because it is possible that it doesn't. That obviously would lead to a very different world where I'm sure people will still figure it out eventually. You just need to make some new fundamental improvements to the architecture in some way. But that might be a somewhat longer trajectory for, maybe, the kind of fundamental AI advances slow down for a bit and we just take some time to build new products around this. Or
you build out power. So what seems to be happening, if you translate what he just said there to power usage, they're not done yet. They need to build out a lot more. They need to really throw a lot of resources at this. And so that's why companies like Microsoft are working with Constellation, who has this, now they have this 20-year plan to restart one of the recently shut down reactors on the 3 Mile Island, which this reactor has been going since 2019. These things are not cheap to get started. And so they go into this massive contract. And I don't know if they're going to try to put data centers near that, but that's going to be a plan. AWS is hiring for a data center principal nuclear engineer to evaluate SMRs and nuclear fuel strategies. Apple has quietly updated their definition of clean energy in their marketing material and on their website. Nuclear energy.
That goalpost.
Yep, it's now in there. Nukes are now in there.
We're gonna have to. So real quick, so we should mention OpenAI is doing their dev days as of Monday, and I just have 2 things I think might be relevant to the audience. One, the new real-time API. I have obviously not get to try it because they just announced it while we've been on the air. Basically, it is a audio-to-audio API, right? Similar to their audio features. That's pretty cool. But I think the real sexy one, and this is super boring, but OpenAI is not the cheapest API to use. ChatGPT, right? They have a bunch of new features where you can kind of prime it for your specific work cases. And I like this one better. I'm trying to get the exact name of what they're calling it, but it's almost like siloing, where you basically tell it what the area it should be thinking about is to lower the computations it has to do, right? Because they charge you by usage. They saw AWS's model and they're like, what if we made it more expensive? Like, could we do that? So yeah, it seems interesting that they're almost acknowledging that to use, their biggest, sexiest O1 for developers is just not viable cost-wise in many cases. So you got 4.0 Mini now. You've got this way to, they call it prompt caching. Thank you, prompt caching, which is something that Claude from Anthropic has had for some time. But hey, we're not going to talk about it. it comes with 50% discounts on your tokens. I don't know why. I'm assuming because they must be getting some epic savings if you do these cash prompt. So I'm sure they're saving more money. But yeah, it all comes down to power and cost. And I'm really interested to see, are they going to have to raise the rate they're charging per, they have a stupid token unit thing they do, but like it's basically per, computational watt hour, right? Because oh my God, Chris, we're going into like actual like 80s sci-fi now. We're charging in watt hours.
Yeah, I wonder if they have enough runway until this denser power comes online. I just doubt it. It seems like it's going to take years. It's a tough, so back to the nuclear thing for a second. Another nuke reactor on Lake Michigan, I can speak, has just closed a $1.5 billion loan to start. The reason why I mention that is because, first of all, this thing's going to produce power until 2051. It will create 600 local jobs, 15 different trade unions in there. But there's only 3 reactors total that can be restarted like this, and these are the 2 of them now. There's only one left, only one reactor left that can be kind of restarted before we have to start building. So they can only grow so much, and they may or may not be able to put data centers near these things. The transmission is still a massive problem. What Amazon's looking at doing, and what I think Microsoft's going to end up doing, ultimately, is they're going to look at building reactors and data centers on the same land.
On the same land. Well, so a couple things, right? They're reopening 3 Mile Island.
Yeah.
So yay. I'm actually all for that. And Bill Gates happens to own or be significantly invested in a reactor company. And to be fair, reactor it's not 1962. Right, reactor design has come quite a long way, and frankly, it works for the French. This is one thing where the EU, I think, was doing a better job, although Germany did just shut some down. I know there's a lot of fear around nuclear power. It's kind of not true. I mean, if you want a fictionalized fun account of the scariest possible outcomes, there's that TV show Chernobyl. But to be honest, it's based on the truth, but it's of course dramatized. But the truth is actually even dumber. There was nothing really wrong. It was just gross corruption and incompetence. Again, this is Russia. Something. They have no tank tires. Just saying.
Yeah.
So I know there's going to be a lot of people who go knee jerk, environmentalism, whatever. If you look at it, nuclear is actually. It's so weird how it got caught up in the environmentalist movement as an enemy. My conspiracy bacon is I'm 100% sure they were being paid off by coal lobbyists. But hey,
look at you bringing the coal bacon, which honestly,
you know what? If you're where I'm originally from, let me tell you, there are coal lobbyists, and they got a lot of money to throw around, especially up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm with you. It always seems like it's like a complementary thing. It works great with wind and solar.
Right. It's always in the game, right? Always. Clean burning coal. This is Pennsylvania bacon from Scranton, so enjoy.
No, I mean nuclear. I think nuclear energy and solar and wind, it doesn't have to be just one of these things, right? It can be all of these things.
It shouldn't be one, right? Right.
But data centers, especially AI data centers, are really, really, really power hungry.
Well, and they need constant power, right? It's not bursty.
I think one of the things you'll see them figure out is, I would bet you, if we were making predictions, they're going to track the Bitcoin mining industry, where they start doing methane capture for all of all the wells out there that are just off gassing. What several Bitcoin mining companies, just their sole existence now, is they go out to these sites where there's no transmission lines. So the oil companies are just venting the methane into the air, lighting it on fire and burning it right there, which dumps methane, which is the strongest greenhouse gas there is. The miners show up, they cap it, they run that into a generator that has like a 98, 99% efficiency conversion, and then they mine Bitcoin right there on site, because they have the Bitcoin miners in these containers, like from the back of a truck, that they just drop off, depending on the scale of the operation. They put a Starlink or an LTE modem there, and the things just convert that methane off gas into Bitcoin, and then they can profit share with the oil company or the owner of the land, or however the arrangement works. And I would bet you'll see something similar with AI, is they'll work with these companies that have these methane off gases that you can cap, you can run a generator, And the tricky part is you just need you need in their case you're going to need connection. But depending on what the stuff is doing, like if it's doing processing work, that you might be able to set up an array of Starlinks, and you might be able to have a AI in a crate sitting on a site that's capturing gas that doesn't have the transmission lines to go anywhere.
That's interesting.
And maybe help reduce methane emissions. I mean, they could get on that same track.
Are they going to have to spring Sam Altman from jail to do this? You went SBF level crazy there. That was like, okay.
And his lady friend just got 24 months in jail.
Oh man, and he has a new fun cellmate. I heard.
Oh, is that true?
It seems wild. How could that be true?
I can't imagine.
I tell you what, it's definitely a slipperier cell if that's true. So we're talking about P. Diddy apparently is now Sam Altman's cell.
I just can't believe that.
You can't believe 1,000 things of baby oil. You can't believe that they'd be in the same cell.
Yeah, the same cell thing.
All right, let's look this up. Real-time research.
It just seems so impossible. What are the chances?
I mean,
do they only have one celebrity cell? That can't be the case.
They are roommates. Yeah.
No way, really?
According to Business Insider. And he is now hiring a lawyer who represents SBF. Look at that. Not only are they roommates, they're going to share a lawyer.
Worked out great for Sam, I guess. Wow.
I don't.
Today I learned.
4 boosts to go.
All right, we have some booze to get into, and Coffee or Death came in as our baller booster with 70,368 sats.
Hey, Rich Lobster!
Giving a shout out to Team Toronto on Matrix. So if you're in the area, head on over there. And if you don't know where our Matrix server is, you can find it coder.show/Matrix. And then you'll find the Team Toronto room if you're in that area. Says, I hope everyone is safe and healthy. Remember, you didn't lose any good people over the week off, or whatever it was said last week. Things ebb and flow. Take care of yourselves in the community. We'll help take care of the rest. I'm looking forward to the next episode when you're both in good places and have the space to think about the Coder Show.
Oh, thank you. Everything worked out fine. Yep.
I did see you busted out your, what is that battery pack that you have called?
My Jackery, baby. See, I they should sponsor us. I'm just saying.
I would agree. I love the Jackery.
I have the baby Jackery. You probably have a bigger one.
I do not, but I am in the market for a Jackery. It's totally right up my alley.
It was on sale during whatever Amazon's thing is for the little guy. You know what? I ended up not having to use it too much, but just to keep everybody's phones charged and laptops charged, pretty good. You know what was weird? We didn't lose cell service.
Oh, that's good.
I was surprised.
Yeah,
because
wow.
So it was the situation where I could actually work. 'Cause I have. Okay, Chris, you're gonna make fun of me. I still have and pay for a Verizon. Remember the jetpacks? They used to call them.
Oh, sure, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I just like it. It's a 5G connection now.
You got a backup.
Yeah, and it. You know what? As long as you're not like futzing around on YouTube or anything, I can basically work with no interruption, provided the cell service. So it doesn't. So do folks know what these things are, right? Or is this too old?
No, of course. No, yeah, of course.
Okay. And it holds a charge for like 2 days. So between that and just plugging in my MacBook, the literally half hour I needed to charge it up a little bit, which I thought was hilarious. The battery life is just great. I was able to, of course I was not focused on work, right? I was more worried about the hurricane. But I was able to do like a quick maintenance thing I had to do on a server and just, make sure, God forbid, there was also an outage. I could have responded to that. Luckily, there wasn't.
Especially if you have a business, I think it's worth having a backup.
It's worth it. I wish I had gotten a bigger one, actually.
Are you going to have you seen the Starlink Mini? It's just a little guy. You just need a clear shot of the northern sky.
What if there's a gator flying through the air at the same time?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that can block signal. That can be a problem, I believe. So
it actually just starts Duck Dynasty on you.
Noob Steve comes in with 52,222 sats.
Incoming transmission.
And he says, y'all triggered me on this one. I ended up as a high school Algebra 2 teacher after I retired from the Navy instead of going into coding. Thanks to Florida legislation, the schools are more like a prison than ever. Regardless of what time it is, all interior and exterior doors and gates have to be locked at all times if a student is on campus. Sporting and fine arts events after school are a nightmare now, and during the event, we are locked in. Most teachers don't even have a key. You could be in school and want to go to the library, but guess what? The door is locked. You need to knock and hope someone hears you to let you in, all in the name of safety. So my kids' sporting events, and of course my kids just started going to sporting events, just set in a whole new set of rules where you're not allowed to bring a bag in. You can bring a kind of like a purse-sized bag if it's clear. If you get one that's clear that they can look at, and once you are in the game, you are not allowed to leave, or you cannot come back in. So for somebody like me who might bring down our dog because it's going to be hours, and so what I will typically do is Hiddy and I will trade off, and a couple times during the game we'll step out and go walk Levi, and then put him back in the car if you see me the temperature's right, and make sure he's okay. And some places, for years we've even been able to bring Levi, to watch on the side of the grass or something like. So it's not being able to go back and forth really stinks. And my wife is a type 1 diabetic, so we need to be able to bring snacks. So it's like we got to figure out something for the bag thing, and all of this is supposedly in the name of safety, I guess. But it's pretty bad.
It's just sad. I mean, it's just it wasn't like this for us, right? If you wanted to go to the school basketball game, you could just walk in.
Yeah.
And if you had to pee, you could walk out. It's just, yeah. My kids' schools are like this too. I know I mentioned it on our last show. It's, it's funny. They put in metal detectors and they said they were temporary. They don't seem to be moving.
Yeah, no, they don't seem to be temporary.
And now they're spending, I believe there's a contract to, so this is, again, corruption bacon. Somebody's getting a contract to maintain this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it feels like a not positive, educational environment when it does very strongly resemble a
prison,
minimum security prison. Right.
Yeah. He also sent a row of ducks in. So, side note, he's been wanting an Apple Fold since the first Samsung comes out. He'd like to see one, though, with the Apple Pencil. The Note 4 had one. That was the last Android device he used. He said he loved the stylus with that one.
Uncle Steve says, no, you have 10 styluses on your hand.
Man, I would love to see a Fold device that has pencil support.
I would too.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a great idea. I would like to see a folding tablet.
Yeah. Screw the phone. Make the phone as small as possible and give me a folding tablet. And if I want to bring the tablet with me, I can fit it.
I got to play around with a Samsung Fold again. It's nice. You want the folding phone.
All right, we'll see. Paul J comes in with a row of McDucks, 22,222 sats.
Things are looking up for old McDuck.
Here's a little something towards Mike's new roof fund. Well, there you go.
It did. My roof is fine.
Yeah, it's all right. Good. Nostromo, I think is how I say it, comes in with 20,000 sats.
Never tell me the odds.
I have nearly 4 years worth of Huawei phones. The battery still lasts 2 full days. The camera is great, and the form factor is just perfect. Unfortunately, it no longer receives Android updates. I've been stuck on Android 10. Apps like Slack started to nag me about the end of life a few months ago. So what does it take for me to change my phone? Well, probably just a few more decisions by tech leads. But how much time they want to invest in old Android versions, really? It's a shame that we live in a world where software dictates that when my phone is broken and not the actual state of the hardware.
We haven't had a fun Android update limit in a long time. Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
Yeah, I think the situation's gotten better on Android, but it's still with specific devices and specific scenarios. I think I saw with the Pixel 9, Google promising 7 years of updates. That's pretty good, but you got to be on a Pixel and you got to be using, their branch and all that. I think they said 7.
I don't know. If you go to the Verizon store, aren't they just handing you a Pixel when you walk in, though?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that I think those ones, unfortunately, are locked, which is a bummer.
Oh, I thought, that's nice.
Yeah. Torp comes in with 9,999 sats.
It's over 9,000!
Do either of you ever architect software with a particular diagram system? Circles, squares, polygons? What's your go-to? Do you ever diagram it? Oh, do you?
I sure do.
Okay.
I do. So I use this great app. It's called Graph Paper and a pencil.
Oh.
Yes. I've tried. I have paid stupid amounts of money for all kinds of native or web apps to do this, and I just keep going back to my old way. So in terms of shapes, it depends on what level, right? So I do UML diagrams for database structure, schema. I stick more or less to the standard of what you would get in your CS 101, or I guess that would be on database design 101, but whatever. Then if you go a level up, I actually I shouldn't say this because I'm going to make Adam way too happy. I've kind of adopted a lot of the event modeling and event sourcing kind of stuff. It's annoying because I've been resisting it for years, but it does, one, it's a more clear, kind of shorter way to diagram it out than diagramming every single component. And son of a bear, it does work. Okay, Canadians, have fun. Enjoy.
There you go. You know, I'm impressed at the entire world of diagramming software, from really, really basic stuff, circles and squares, all the way up to something that tries to output some kind of code that you can consume. And I always see various versions in software demos. I'm the amount of time that goes into doing that. It strikes me as, well, I'd rather just be making the app.
I mean, I found if I have to do a presentation, obviously I can't just like whip out my graph paper and hold it up to the Google Chat camera. OmniGraph was pretty good. I think it's called Lucidchart, which runs in Google Suite. It's not bad. So I know someone who is in love with Microsoft Project. I cry when I see it.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. I've lived that pain. I've lived it. Yeah, I know that one. Curacia comes in with 10,000 sats.
I am your father.
Says you're spot on about what's going on with the kids. I know a bunch of teachers, and they all say that they can tell which kids have parents that are involved versus ones that are performatively involved versus the ones where the parents have totally checked out. FYI, the ones they hate are the helicopter Karens. The kids are worse than the parents, and the parents are terrible. But long way around, they notice more parents are completely disengaged, and those kids seem to be suffering. Yeah, I think I've noticed that in the neighborhood, too, just with the neighborhood friends. Says, for the California AI bill, it would have ended up like the export control on crypto. The open source devs or groups will just move out of California. It's a cool story, Newsom, but get wrecked. I live in Germany now. Yeah, you do see that. You could see companies like moving out to Texas or whatnot. But again, if they're going to, are you going to move all of Google? No, right?
I gotta say, like, I don't like this bill you passed, so I'm moving to Germany. It's a pretty hardcore move.
It's very rare that people can actually do that. It's very rare, you know. Maybe Elon can, and Joe Rogan can, but I don't know if Google could or Apple could. Right? I don't think Apple would want to. There's that. I think they would just comply with the regulation. Some would though, and some of the open source devs that are working at a smaller scale, yeah, they probably could. Alex Gates comes in with 10,000 sats.
You're doing a good job.
The original Pixel Buds A series don't have conversation detection. The Pros and newer do. Thank you, Alex. I've been trying to figure out why I didn't get that conversation. That seems like such a great feature. So I'm putting that on the wish list for Christmas. Appreciate the boost. The Immunologist comes in with 3,333 sats.
Coming in hot with the boost.
Follow up on the iPhone 8. I am running iOS 16. So far, I can update all the apps. Also, it has not become too slow to use, which seems to be some of the use cases with some of the other earlier Apple devices I used. But yes, I agree. The end may be near. Rocking the iPhone 8 with iOS 16.
That's like vintage.
Man, I day one installed iOS 18. I do that. I'm same with Android.
I did too.
Did you? How's it been going? Have you had any problems?
No, not really. I mean,
first couple of days, I had my launch board crash.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a couple times.
I also got the new cheapo AirPods because mine were dying.
How are they?
I prefer the old shape. That's why I've been. When I say my old ones, I had like the OG AirPods. I like the old shape better, but I didn't have a choice.
Yeah. Sohang comes in with 5,555 sats.
Put some macaroni and cheese on there too.
He says that episode was too spicy for him. I forgot what it was that we did, but he got
the crumbling social fabric of America. Gee.
I know. I don't remember. I don't know. Sometimes we say stuff that gets people all kinds of worked up, and we don't mean to, but we just also have to acknowledge that I think one of the differentiating factors of Coda Radio is that we have a different way of viewing some of these things, and just about every other tech podcast has essentially the same take on everything going on. And we talk about stuff that I think if you talk about it honestly, it helps you prepare and plan.
Right. You don't have to agree. Right. I mean, I listen to all the kind of, whatever bigger podcasts, and I don't necessarily agree, but sometimes they'll say something and I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. But change your mind. Good to have multiple perspectives.
Yeah. And I do think it's not for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. Anonymous comes in with 5,000 sats. That's a Jar Jar boost.
Use a boost.
Regarding the California bill, the way it targets open source, this feels like an attack on the Open Llama and Zuckerberg stuff. Here's Zuck discussing how open source will win in the long run. He links us to a YouTube video.
Oh, yeah, I saw this one.
Scott Wiener, the bill sponsor, is number 3 in the top donations from OpenAI in 2024. Also,
he's firmly supporting this bill, Representative Wiener.
Also, some of the other folks that were funding that bill had ties to the Effective Altruism Group, which not a big fan of what they've produced so far. So,
really, you don't want to flip a coin 100 times, and half the time it destroys the world, with the other half it makes it paradise. It's
yeah,
okay.
I guess. Yeah, I kind of am crazy. I guess DPG comes in with 6,666 sats.
The traders love the vol.
Boost for my long email on the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. Thank you, DPG.
Yes.
He says, stay safe.
Oh, thank you. I'm alive.
Yeah. Well, we can tell, and we like it. We like it. Odyssey Westrick comes in with 4,444 sats.
Sometimes my genius it's almost frightening.
He was boosting our live testing. So we are now live in the Podcasting 2.0 feed, so you can just listen in your podcast player. And he boosted in, testing it out for us, which we appreciate. Thank you, sir. T. Cairo comes in with 10,010 sats.
Priority clearance recognition, Alpha 1.
Oh, that's a good one.
The Windows kernel issue seems like something that could easily be resolved by Microsoft being required to develop capabilities that you can hook into the Windows kernel from an external vendor point of view. Yeah, I wonder if dtrace, like BHH pointed out, Microsoft cannot implement any security measures that would be considered competition to other antivirus or similar products. Yes, I know that is one of the restrictions. Yeah, he says this. Then if they want to provide a reasonable security product themselves, they are running through the same loops any other company would. This provides a more secure environment for its users. So essentially, they could take advantage of the tools they create.
Well, yeah, they'd have to eat their own dog food. Right.
Yeah, I feel like there's a missing piece I still don't understand. If the dtrace mechanism would work for that, and it's been available, as BHH says, then why would vendors like CrowdStrike do it any other way? Is it...
Could it just be the simple
legacy?
Solution of legacy, right? Like it's hard to make investments when you're not going to have some whiz bang thing you could put on the box, so to speak. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, why rewrite something that's kind of core to the product that's working, hasn't had a big problem, so many other things to focus on.
Well, I mean, who among us has not written like a for loop that they put a comment, will refactor later, but it turns out, the for loop's fast enough and it gets the job done, and your customer's asking for new features. They don't care about how, that screen got populated. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's just the normal, trudging of software development.
Bobby Pin comes in with 10,000 sats.
That's not possible. Nothing can do that.
Bobby Pin did. He says, I was testing out the live stream. It got me thinking, though, could y'all keep a stream going? Could there be an always on stream?
I thought you did. I thought you have like a JB live stream.
Yeah, you got it. jblive.fm. You can put that in your web browser, and it's always playing old episodes. Now, he says what would be nice is if I could somehow get the show notes with what's playing with the, connected to the 24/7 stream.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I think maybe our Icecast host has an API where you could get the track that's currently playing, and then maybe we could link that to the show notes. If anybody wanted to build that, you better believe we'd like to implement that. That's a great idea. But if you'd just like to tune in, you can go to jblive.fm and reruns. Yeah, I think a couple of years worth of Coda Radio are on there. Couple of years worth of Linux Unplugged and some of the really a lot of the old shows. Just kind of plays from current episodes back. Just jblive.fm, and then we break in with live shows a couple times a week. Listener Jeff comes in with a Jar Jar boost, 5,000 sats.
Use a boost!
Testing out the live stream for us. So thank you, everybody who boosted in. We really appreciate it. This show right now, no sponsors. It is completely listener-supported by our members and by our boosters. And if you'd like to support the show with a boost and send your message in, just send it above 2,000 sats. Booster on in, and we'll read it here on the show. Something like Fountain.fm or any of the podcast apps listed at podcastapps.com. We had 31 listeners that were streaming sats as they listened to the show, so we stacked 17,750 sats just with the streamers. And then when you combine that with the folks that wrote in and boosted, we stacked 262,869 sats. Thank you, everybody who supports the show. Coder.show/membership. If you'd like to put it on autopilot, I'll have a link to the annual membership in the show notes. And of course, with the new podcast app, not only can you now listen live to the show in your podcast app of choice, but you could also boost the show, support us directly with no middleman, and get your message read on the show. Thank you, everybody. Okay. It's just fun. So before we get out of here, let's keep talking a little bit more about your buddy Zuck. Because
I like that we're like bosom buddies now. This is good.
Well, he's making your platform. I mentioned Orion.
Do I get a cool Latin T-shirt
and a chain? And also,
sweet.
I think you could probably find a Zuck wig and just go all
Wait,
in.
is he going to make me go to the gym though to learn whatever it is? What does he do? Jiu-jitsu or MMA? Yeah,
I don't know.
Oh God, I don't know.
So I mentioned Orion earlier. I want to talk a little bit more about this. So this is an impressive set of demos that they've done. It's only demo hardware at this point, but it is actually quite good. And the technology seems to be kind of like, iPhone levels breakthrough when the industry was still on, Blackberries. I'll just play a little bit of Zuck introducing the devices here to set the stage.
Different from every other screen that you have ever used. And that is because it is not actually a screen. It is a completely new kind of display architecture with these tiny projectors in the arms of the glasses that shoot light into waveguides that have nanoscale 3D structures etched into the lenses so they can diffract light and put holograms at different depths and sizes into the world in front of you. And all of that is directed by custom silicon and sensors that we designed and powered by a battery that fits in the arm of the glasses. It is a absolutely incredible amount of technology to be able to miniaturize and fit into a pair of glasses and a small puck that goes with it to help power the whole thing.
So the puck goes in your pocket. It's totally wireless. They're using micro projectors inside what are bulky glasses, and they overlay AR apps in what are pass-through lenses. And they let tech journalists, quote unquote, use it. They let several people look at it. People are saying it's genuinely impressive. They were kind of pre-staged demos, of course, but kind of going to what you're saying, maybe it's not a giant face computer, but it's a pair of AR glasses that have a computer in their pocket. Maybe that computer is their phone. Maybe it's something else. This seems like a platform people would actually be willing to put on their face because it's not snow goggles. It's more like sunglasses. And again, it's not a shipping product, but it's pretty impressive because they've also paired it with a wrist strap that is watching the electrical nerve signals in your hands and using that to interact with the UI in the Orion environment. And so instead of having to do hand tracking or have controllers, this wrist strap is watching your nerve system, essentially, your pulses in your nerve system, and interpreting that as gestures in the UI. And that is going to get used in all kinds of meta products. They've been teasing this for about 9 months now or so, this product that you could use with the Quest or now with these Orion glasses. And so they have this whole system, the wireless puck that goes in your pocket, the glasses with the integrated battery and display, the wrist strap that watches your nerves. It's kind of, I mean, it's early, but it's kind of a leap, I think, in this technology.
I think we're going to get there, right? I listened to the whole interview with him, and the problem seems to be, which it always is, right, that the prototype is like $10,000.
Yeah.
So, but that's just how products are designed. They're always too expensive.
Didn't they say they made like 1,000 of them or something like that?
Yeah, they have like a whole group internally who's using them. Mm-hmm. I just want to say that very lucky for Zuck that the Buddy Holiday glasses came back.
I think in an office place, this is way more acceptable than goggles that actually cover your eyes.
Exactly. And when you forget to take them off at the bar and go to the urinal, you're less likely to get punched in the face. So that's a plus.
I actually think it's some equivalency. It's not as going to be as easy, but AirPods really stood out. These white AirPods that everybody wore were, really kind of unique. And then as time has gone on, like when you go to the airport, almost everybody has AirPods, or they have some kind of, headphone system, big old bulky, like noise canceling headphones. And we've completely normalized people walking around downtown wearing either AirPods or big, headphones. And I don't really think it's much different than that. It just goes over your eyes. But as long as you can still see them, they can see you, and you're just pulling up ancillary information, I think this could be socially acceptable. I'm not saying it should, but in a way, it's kind of better than looking down at your phone. It's more socially acceptable than looking at your phone all the time.
Yes, it makes it easier to pretend like you're listening to somebody when you're really just scrolling Twitter. I agree.
I can see your glasses are flashing. Are you listening to me?
Oh, my God. You're going to have kids taking them to school, putting like tape on the light so no one can see.
Well, we're really getting a sense of what they spend all that R&D money on. I think that's why they're showing this off is like, hey, here's some results that we've got. And by the way, vague AI implied integration here that's going to be gangbusters, right? They can do that too.
He said in the interview that he did with The Verge that, he made a bet that the AR stuff would happen before the AI stuff, and he was just wrong, right? So that, they really are killing it. I was not a Quest believer before, but yeah, turns out if you just stick with something and iterate on it, you can actually get there.
So you can find Mike on Facebook. No. No.
A little acquisition news. TMB, Madwater has been bought by Meta. No, I'm kidding.
Gosh. Well, I guess I'm not really saying that we're going to see these in a year or two, but 5 years, I could see it. I don't know. The problem is I don't think I want Meta to be the company I buy these from.
Well, you don't have a choice, Chris. This is so okay. The bad part, Zuck kind of thinks he's Augustus, the Caesar, the Roman emperor. So that's
I've noticed that vibe.
He's walking around in custom T-shirts with weird Latin phrases on them. There's definitely a kind of imperial thing going on here. So
Do you think this is their iPhone moment, as some of the tech press are putting it?
No. This is not going to be an iPhone moment.
Yeah, it has to be shipping, right?
So one, it has to be shipping, right? That you could just leave it there. It's not shipped. And we should remember when the iPhone came out, it initially wasn't gangbusters, right? It was too expensive. We have to go through the history of the iPhone, but
didn't have a keyboard.
Which was a huge dig on it, right?
And actually, it didn't have the fastest cellular antennas for the first generation or so.
And it was on a shitty carrier called Singular in the U.S.
Yeah, that too.
So,
yeah,
we'll see. The problem for the Zuckman is by the time he can get this down to where it's a viable commercial product that people might be able to afford, what else is going to happen in the industry?
Right, and now they've sort of tipped their cards. People are going to be working harder on their solutions.
All right, or maybe they won't copy this, right? Like you mentioned the AirPods. What about, and they're kind of getting there with the new AirPods Pro, but how about we run the AirPods forward 5 years? Do they become your AI interface?
Well, they definitely could become part of the controller input. Like they have the new shake the head to accept or reject notifications and interact with Siri. That seems like, it seems to me that the AirPods are actually just perfect for more sensors, temperature sensors, things that you could feed into the watch for health information, and stuff that you could feed into a VR/AR environment for position, for head tracking, for acknowledgement of notifications without actually having to move your hands. Yeah, I think they have to go that direction. And I think they're uniquely positioned to integrate all that stuff.
I mean, I'll tell you, I am strongly considering buying a second pair of AirPods just because I, one, got the cheap ones, and two, to have two. I hate not having my AirPods. I use them all the time around the house.
You should get the Pros and tell me how the conversational awareness is.
My problem with the Pros is I hate the soft padding on earphones because my ears are, this is a little gross, my ears get very waxy, and that soft padding kind of gunks up.
Sure.
So if they made them in the hard, I don't know what they call that, just, the part that goes in your ear, right? Just like they do with the regular ones, I would be more interested. But I do like that conversational awareness stuff. That does look cool in the demo.
Yeah, I'd love to know if people have tried that with the AirPods. Sounds like it's pretty decent with the Pixel Pods. Boost in and tell us. I guess also, I'd like to know, we didn't bring it up directly in the show, but since we're wrapping up, my question would be, how do you feel about big tech leading the restart of the nuke reactors?
It's going to be fine.
Well, I can imagine there's some people that, I guess to me, the concern would be, would you rather this was a state-run initiative or a private company-run initiative? It seems like both would have pros and cons.
Well,
that's really what I'm
show.
asking. Write in and boost it and let us know. Mr. Dominic, where should people find you throughout the week?
You could go check out alice.dev for all your automation and ETL needs.
Alice.dev, I think I will. You can find me on the Nosterverse if you like. You could just go to chrislas.com. I'm also Chris LAS on Weapon X. I don't really tweet there much, but I do respond if you tweet at me. Links to what we talked about today are at coder.show/589. Of course, you can also just get our RSS feed and listen in your podcasting app of choice when we're live or after we release. Our contact form's also on our website. If you would like to join us live, we'd love to have you in our chat room. We do it on Tuesday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. You can go to coder.show/live for that. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Coder Radio program. See you right back here next week.